nature, when you're surrounded by nature, you totally realize that how insignificant you are in the scheme of everything else. Because
From the Garden State, New Jersey, from one mom to another, it's time for Mom's Talk. Here's Avni.
Welcome, Supermoms, to Mom's Talk. Our today's guest is a supermom, an entrepreneur. Joining us, Renuka Natu. It's lovely to have you, Renuka.
thank you, Avni. Thank you so much for having me join this chat. I'm really excited.
It's finally great to have us both talk about your journey. So I'm excited too.
Thanks.
So, Renuka, could you tell us a little bit about what your consultancy is and how are you doing it so successfully?
Sure. Well, you said journey, and my life is all about journey because yes, I am a travel professional, and
Mhm.
traveling has been my passion, and I'm so fortunate that it is also my profession.
Uh-huh.
So it doesn't really seem like work. So what exactly I do is, after having worked with the travel MNCs for about 15 years in my earlier days. Since the last 10 years, I have a company called Renuka Natu Travel Relations. And this is basically a B2B platform. So
Mhm.
here I deal with the travel industry. I don't deal directly with the client who is the guest who is traveling.
Uh-huh.
I basically have partners in different parts of the world, and they have unique products that they want Indians to visit. So here, my role is to generate interest for those products and to educate the travel industry. So all the travel agents and tour operators, I try my best to educate them on that product, as well as the media as well. So,
Mhm.
the media will then in turn talk on the B2C platform. So the media is also briefed about the products. And
Mhm.
yes, so it is basically a marriage between the travel agents here in India and the product in a foreign country. So it could be a hotel, it could be a resort, it could be an attraction, or it could be a company that provides end-to-end travel services from the time you enter that country till the time you leave. Yeah, so
Mhm.
it's a 24/7 kind of a very challenging job that I have been doing for the last 10 years. This year has been a little slow because
Mhm.
travel, it's like
Yeah.
there's a break on travel at the moment.
Mhm.
But nevertheless, people want to get out, and I'm sure as soon as everything clears up, we're going to be very busy once again.
Absolutely. I think what you're doing is very interesting, Renuka. And you're bringing so much adventure into people's life, and you're making it easier for them to explore those adventures. And
Yes.
be ready, you are going to be super duper busy as soon as things get back
Thank
to
you so
normal.
much. Thank you so much. So at the moment, I concentrate mostly on the continent of Africa.
Okay.
So I have partners in South Africa, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, Botswana,
Hmm.
Namibia, Zimbabwe, Zambia. So pretty much sub-Saharan Africa.
Hmm.
And fortunately, post-COVID, some of the African countries have opened, and we've already started having guests traveling since December
Hmm.
2020. And yes, it's only looking better going forward.
Lovely, lovely. So, were you like this adventurous right from the beginning? ये idea इस type का आना और इसी को अपना अपना business बनाना. There, you
हाँ.
must be very passionate about it. How did all that happen?
या अपनी ये कहीं ना कहीं बचपन में जो हमको एक्सपोजर मिलता है, या जो हमारे एल्डर्स करते हैं, उससे वी गेट इंस्पायर्ड अ लॉट. सो
Mhm.
व्हेन आई वाज ग्रोइंग अप इन द 70s एंड 80s, अपने तो इंटरनेट नहीं था. देयर वाज नो नॉट एज मच एक्सपोजर एज द चिल्ड्रन टुडे हैव. तो वी हैड टू
True.
डिपेंड अपॉन बुक्स. and we had to depend upon real physical maps, no Google
Hmm.
Maps. And
Yeah.
whatever your parents, your uncles, your aunts, your elderly neighbors, those who were in whatever profession, then you would hear from them. So I was very fortunate कि मेरे जो सबसे बड़े चाचा जी थे, he was a flight engineer with Air India in those days. And Air India, though, in those days used to travel, used to connect to almost every corner of the world. And
Yeah.
whenever my uncle would come back from his flight, we are a closely knit family. So I would always, land up there just to listen to his stories. And he
Uh-huh.
used to tell us कि अच्छा Italy गए थे, कभी France गए, कभी he's like been to Jordan, he's been to Lebanon, all those countries which are today a little difficult to go. But
Hmm.
he used to be filled with stories. So उनका सुनने के बाद I would open the map, I would look at the globe, I would try to spot the place there, and make my own mental pictures based on his stories that he used to share with us. And he used
Hmm.
to bring back a lot of things also, which would as a child, when you're seeing stuff which is like not available in the markets around you. In those days there were no supermarkets even. TV
Hmm.
भी बहुत कम था. TV मेरे घर में आया when I was 10 years old. And in those days there was TV would be only for like एक घंटा या फिर
Hmm.
weekend को
Hmm.
ज़्यादा time. So exposure, like I keep saying, was much, much lesser. So it was all through books
Yeah.
and maps and my uncle's stories that I learned about a lot about the world. And just as luck would have it, when I was 10, my uncle got posted in London on his job, of course, for 3 years.
Hmm.
And my parents were kind enough to let me travel. And I
Hmm.
was just 10 and I had traveled alone. It wasn't a direct flight, it was
Wow.
like a Bombay, Delhi, Delhi, Dubai, Dubai, London flight. And
All
after
by
some,
yourself.
yeah, yeah. So you when you travel as an unaccompanied minor, of course, there is always a flight attendant who is
Hmm.
taking
Hmm.
care of you. So all the transits and everything happen smoothly, and I land up there in London. And even today, when I close my eyes, I can imagine that first impression of a foreign country, which is like so different from what we
Hmm.
have back home. And at the same time, na, जो possibilities होती है, मतलब
Hmm.
how different a world can be outside of your comfort area is what I started realizing. And somewhere I spent my entire summer vacation that year with my uncle and aunt and their children. And yeah, somewhere it was making so many impressions on my mind that I said, this journey cannot stop here. It has to go on. And yeah, so by the time I was 13, I think I had decided that I want to have a career to do with traveling. At the age of 13, again with limited exposure, I wasn't very clear exactly how I was going to achieve it. But
Hmm.
yes, I knew I was going to be in the travel industry. And so parents का भी बहुत बड़ा role है इसमें, because they were the ones who sent me off alone. For parents in this was in the 80s. It wasn't an
Hmm.
easy thing because they wouldn't have been able to message me unless I had reached London and my uncle had
Yeah.
called back home. They had no clue. That how to keep track. Now today we land, we message, we are boarding, we are messaging, everything is like become so easy to keep track. But
Hmm.
in those days it wasn't like that. And of course they were courageous. I'm also the only child, but despite that they did not protect me,
Hmm.
overprotect me. And they allowed me to explore. And later on my father told me, in fact, that he was prepared that at the airport, if I go and I say that I am not going alone, he was prepared to take me home. But he said, you didn't even look back. You just said bye and you were gone. And so I think it was just that lure of adventure, doing something by yourself at that age, and wanting to explore is what was always there within me, and that's what kept taking me to wherever I went. um,
That's amazing. And that too at such an early age of 10, I
Yeah.
think. You know how people say that एक बार आपने जान लिया कि आपको क्या करना है लाइफ में,
हाँ,
and
हाँ,
then you take that up as your career, there is no stopping
correct.
for you. And in your case, I
Absolutely.
think you were clear at the age of 13,
Yeah,
as you said,
पता
that
था
this is what
मतलब
you
बस.
want to do.
Yeah, true. And then, again, in those days, being a girl child, my parents were never very that you have to take science, you have to take commerce. ऐसे कुछ नहीं था.
Mhm,
My
mhm,
mother always told me one thing, and that is what I also tell my daughter, that whatever you do, you give your best. And then,
mhm,
that will be your foundation. So if you are in love with some subject, give your best to it, and then that becomes your path. And that's what I did. And at the same time, I had a father who my father is a very jovial person, so he would always tell me, listen beta, 10th standard में 35% अगर मिलते हैं ना, तो आपको गवर्नमेंट से साइकिल फ्री मिलता है, बाइसिकल. so so it was a very that kind of an atmosphere at home, where my mom would always she wasn't pushing me or anything, but she would say that
mhm,
give your best. And my dad
mhm.
would say, so in those days they were not following any book on parenting or anything, but it's just
Yeah.
that because of the personalities that they had, there was always a balance. I knew that even if I got 35 only, there would be happiness, because yeah, I
You'll
would
get a
get.
free cycle for sure,
Exactly, yeah. So
whether it's through the government or your parents.
yeah, so it was like, no pressure. And that's what I feel,
Yeah.
when a child is allowed to grow in a non-pressured environment, and allowed to explore what they really like to do, then there is no stopping. Because
Mhm,
I went ahead, I did my BA, and I chose a subject which was geography. And the whole world
mhm,
would like ask my parents, what's this girl going to do with geography? But then, because I love the subject so much, I'm not trying to be boastful, but the passion just helped me stand first in my TYBA in college. And
mhm, mhm,
I also stood in the boards that year. I stood seventh in the Maharashtra state boards for the third
mhm,
year, the final year college. And at the same time, I was also learning a language. I was learning French, which also my
mhm,
mother had found out that, where, because in those days nothing was at the click of a button. So
mhm,
she had
mhm,
gone to the French Chamber of Commerce, and then she found out for me that, okay, there is some institute called Alliance Francaise in Bombay. And if you want to do travel, then it's always nice to have a foreign language as well. So
mhm,
the
mhm,
very year that I graduated, I also did my Alliance Française, and I got a scholarship in that. So this is when my second chance to travel alone happened,
uh-huh.
exactly 10 years after my first outing to London. Because I got the scholarship to France, I got the opportunity to travel to France all by myself, stay with
Mhm,
French people and stay with other students. And that's when I did a lot of, and then back then there was no Schengen visa, so you would need a
mhm,
separate visa for all European countries. And my father said that maybe if you want to explore. So in France, I had like a program. I would be with the other students, and I was in, a schedule kind of a program. So he said, if you
mhm.
want to explore another country, choose one which is around France. And then my most natural choice was Switzerland.
Yeah.
So I went into Switzerland backpacking completely for 2 weeks. And in those days, nobody knew where I was. I
Mhm,
wasn't writing or calling anyone every day. So in that 2.5, 3 months period, I called home only twice. Once when I landed, and a day before I was flying back. So I mean, today when I look back, and I wonder whether, if my daughter was to do something like that on her own, will I be fine? But I guess yes, because, if you have your head firmly on your shoulders, and you know what you're doing, then
mhm,
I think it is possible. So that was my second outing, which again, I should thank my parents because a young girl of 20, they just allowed me to explore on my
Yeah.
own. Yeah, that's where it got cemented that yes, travel is the way forward for me, and that is what I'm going to do.
Lovely,
Yeah.
lovely, Renuka. So you have traveled so much. I would say you started traveling from the age of 10, and
Yes.
you're now into this business of yours, which is also all about tourism. So
Right.
I am assuming that you are exposed to a lot of different cultures, whether it's in Africa or
Absolutely.
it's in European countries and growing up in
Absolutely.
India.
Yeah.
So that's something that I'm curious to know about is
Mm-hmm.
your learnings, आपकी learnings इन सारे cultures जिससे भी
Mm-hmm.
आपका exposure रहा है, उसमें
Mm-hmm.
ऐसी क्या कौन सी common चीजें हैं जिससे you were sort of benefited, or you figured out that these are the things that which are common.
Sure. See, the core to any human being, whether he is white, black, pink, yellow, whatever color, wherever they live, the core is the same. Family values, and also the relationship between a mother and a child. The mother is always going to be anxious for the same reasons, no matter what country or what culture you're a part of. And I think, in a way, we all are very, very similar.
Mhm,
Everybody finally needs, people always want to get noticed. So that is something that is common across all cultures. So everyone is striving to find their little foothold, their little toehold in the gamut of everything.
mhm,
And the more open you are, the more open your mind is, the more you dissolve or melt into. So what I have learned from all these years is that the less rigid you are in life, okay, if your parachute is open, then you are definitely going to fly. And if
mhm,
the moment your parachute, that mind is like shut, then you just fall down with a thud. So no matter where you are, what you're doing, if you are open to new experiences, if you don't try to keep yourself chained in things like इसके से ये तो मुझे लगता ही है, इसके बिना मेरा होगा ही नहीं, ऐसे
mhm,
जब हम लोग बोलते हैं, that's when you are putting chains around your own existence. You're actually depriving yourself of freedom. But
mhm,
the moment you start getting an open outlook towards everything in life, I guess that's when you are able to learn and imbibe a lot from every culture. And like I said, there
mhm,
is like a common thread across all, that everyone wants to do something, to achieve something, and to get noticed, and then to remain, continue doing what they are doing. So yeah, so that's what it is. It's very simple, but what I have learned the most is actually maybe not so much from the people you meet, but
mhm,
in the continent of Africa, the animals, when you watch the animals in their own habitat, that is
mhm,
that is something that teaches you a completely different lesson. So first of all, one thing that when you start traveling, what you realize is, okay, you are talking about only 29% is land, and 71% of our globe is water. So when you say,
mhm,
okay, I know the whole world, what you're talking about is only a very small piece of what the whole world is.
mhm,
Secondly, when you are in nature, when you're surrounded by nature, you totally realize that how insignificant you are in the scheme of everything else. Because when you travel, you face a lot of natural calamities also, sometimes like storms, and
mhm,
there will be hurricanes, and there might be floods. So you just realize that how insignificant you are. So your ego just crashes. There is no ego. The more you let yourself go. And then coming to what I have learned the most from animals is they live in the moment.
Mhm.
For
Mhm.
them it doesn't matter that they're not wearing clothes, they are not bothered about who is looking at them. They do not have to they don't have refrigerators where they need to collect the food and keep it for another day. They will just eat only as much as they are hungry for the day. They are not
Mhm.
saving up for the next day. There are no banks, there are just no worries. So
Mhm.
their needs are so basic, and they will never take more than what they need. There is no greed. And the way the system works, so when a predator has killed a prey, first, let's say the lion will eat the zebra or the wildebeest. Then you have the hyenas that come, they eat closer to the bone. After that, you have the vultures that come, and by the
Mhm.
fourth day, there's just no trace, just the skeletal remains. So
Mhm.
there is
Mhm.
no bother about wet waste and dry waste and garbage collection. I mean, we just live too much of excess. We just have
Mhm.
many things, and these cupboards that we keep filling, and the fridge that we keep filling with stuffing with things that we might eat tomorrow or the day after, or maybe a month later.
Yeah.
So yeah, the biggest learning has been when you watch nature, and it's extremely calming also to watch everything work in harmony,
Mhm.
the way it should be. We human beings, we try to change too many things just to
Mhm.
suit
Mhm.
us. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. Lovely, lovely, Renuka. Beautifully said. And I think आपके learnings को सुन करके आपने जितना इन सब चीजों को समझा है, जाना है, how much you have adapted to all these things, I think it is very, very important for us to, explore and
Yeah.
not limit ourselves. And I think the results, as you rightly said, जो भी उसके results हैं वो आपके सामने होंगे. You will be a happier person, in fact.
एब्सोल्युटली, कि कितने कम चीजों से खुशी मिल सकती है.
Mhm.
The moment you realize that, then that craving for contentment, जिसको बोलते हैं ना, that is
Yeah,
something
yeah.
that nature teaches you. If you observe nature, if you let nature sink into you.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
every aspect of nature is just beautiful, and it is very self-sufficient. So
Yeah.
when I look at when I my if you say if you ask me what's my favorite part of nature, I think it is the trees. Eh,
Uh-huh.
a landscape without trees is a little scary for me. Deserts, of course, I've been fortunate enough to have seen some beautiful deserts across the world. But still a tree, because it just promises you so many things. It just gives you shade,
Mhm.
it has, maybe it has a fruit, and it always has like a beautiful creeper that is climbing on its trunk, and then the whole
Yeah.
thing put together looks so beautiful. And if you
Mhm.
try to relate it to society, so the trees, which are those solid, not structures, they're also living things. They are
Mhm.
like the industrialists and the bankers and the doctors and the accountants of society. And the creepers that are climbing on their trunks are the artists. So artists are the ones who add grace to
Mhm.
their
Mhm.
existence, and if they were not there, there wouldn't be artists either, because just by art you cannot survive. So you require
Mhm.
even some source to actually uh, take care of the artist. So that's
Yeah.
what I feel, when I look at a creeper or a vine going on a trunk of a tree. It's like that's how we are, because we need the actors, we need the dancers, we need the singers,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
for whom? To entertain the pillars that are the industrialists and the doctors. And so that's how it that's my just my view. That's how I look at things. And I can appreciate trees every day, because
Mhm.
every day
Mhm.
they look different, every season they look different. And so I guess when you are doing that, your child is watching, and
Mhm.
somewhere subconsciously they also start thinking about nature, about maybe not exactly the same way that you would, But yes, they
Yeah,
start pairing a thought, it's not
true.
everything materialistic, everything is not bought in a
Hmm.
store or ordered
Yeah.
online. Just have to open the window and look out, and there is beauty.
That is so true. That is so true. Because right now, people are bogged down into so much of work and attaining a lot of materialistic things that they sort of, you know, get themselves off of the nature. And how beautifully you said what kind of thoughts you have when you look at that tree. I think that is so true. हर किसी का हर चीज को देखने का एक अलग नजरिया होता है, एंड
हाँ,
आई थिंक अगर किसी चीज को किसी भी तरीके से देखा जाए और उससे आपको खुशी मिलती हो, that is all what it is all about, right? You got
true,
to be
true.
happy, you got to feel happy
Yeah,
about what you are doing, where you
exactly.
are.
Yeah. सो
This is
पैशन,
wonderful.
मुझे ऐसे लगता है कि पैशन जो है वो कभी भी आउट ऑफ फैशन नहीं जाएगा. So long as you are passionate about what you do, you may be cooking, you may be cleaning. So if you do it with passion, then the outcome, the result is definitely going to be very good, and it is going to be unique because it is your individual passion that you have put into making something. So it'll
Mhm.
show, it will be unique to you. It is not going to be like a machine made thing. So whatever you do, just give it your best and think passionately, feel passionately about it, and the result is definitely going to be good. So I always believe passion will never go out of fashion. It shouldn't. It shouldn't, rather.
It shouldn't. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. You're right. That's lovely. That's lovely, Renuka. This is so much fun talking to you. I think you took us in your world of exploring different regions, different places, and we got a little peek into the different cultures talking to you. So this was so much fun. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for your time. And I'm in fact looking forward to travel with you next.
Oh, that'll be lovely. Anytime. As soon as, the doors open to the world, we are definitely going to
We'll
start
do that.
traveling.
We'll do that. We'll take
And I
pictures
will wait for
together.
the opportunity. Yeah, why not? Sure.
Hi, this is Avni from Mom's Talk. Help me spread the word and join me on my mission of motivating other moms by sharing the video. Thank you for watching.